All right, our next guest is a gunslinging, Oscar-winning rock star. He can take cuts in the batter's box just like he can on the big screen. Lately, he's been an old troubadour, riding in on some oil rigs and always hanging out with hot chicks. Billy Bob Thornton. What's up, Billy?
What's going on there, Gentry? How you doing today?
I'm doing really good. You got a hit on your hands with this Landman. Everybody's addicted to this thing. We can't wait till Sunday when the next one comes out.
Well, I tell you, it's become quite a phenomenon, this thing. And, you don't ever know really how something's going to do. I mean, you could be making something and you think it's really great, and then it, kind of falls on its face. And then you can do other ones that you think are okay or mediocre, and people just love them. This one happens to be one that we loved doing, and we thought we had something good, but, we rely on the audience. Everywhere I go on this thing, I don't know that I've ever had anything, at the time it was out that's gotten this kind of reaction. I've had things in retrospect where now, people come up to me all the time about Bad Santa or Sling Blade or Monsters Ball, whatever it is, or if I'm in Texas, Friday Night Lights. But, it's really taken off very quickly. So we're very, very proud of it.
Well, what's your plan to keep that daughter of yours away from these guys? Because it's really painful for all of us watching it, if you know what I'm saying. Come on, Dad. You got to put some shorts on that girl if you don't mind.
Oh, believe me, I try to get them on her. It's like, honey, you can't do this to me. You're going to give these old men a heart attack.
This show is great, man. Yeah. It's got heavy subjects and the comedy mixed in. Taylor killed it with the casting, so I'm really proud of you. And he wrote this script specifically for you, so it's perfect.
Yeah, he did. I had done a cameo for him in 1883 down there in Fort Worth, and he told me at the premiere of 1883, he said, I've written something around you called Landman, and I'm writing it in your voice. And when I read the first script, I was like, well, sure enough, he did. He got it.
Well, you've said that you're not very good at pretending. That's why this role of Tommy Norris is great. But I feel like your performance in Sling Blade, that was like a masterclass in transformation. What part of you was in Carl in that character?
Well, a lot of it was just that I knew people like that. That character was based on three different people that kind of put together over the years. One of them was just the body language, and one of them was sort of the voice, and the other was the seed of the story. But, I grew up around people like that. A lot of towns will have someone, along those lines. But I think what was in me, the part of me that was in that character was his sort of, sense of justice. It's like at the end of the day, it's like he didn't, his feeling was, well, who do you want to be this kid's father figure? Do you want it to be the John Ritter character who may not go along with everything that Carl was taught in this weird way by his family in the Bible, or the guy who would on the surface be the one that maybe his parents would have approved of, but he's a monster to the kid, And so I think I've got that about kids. And speaking of that, the thing you were talking about Michelle Randolph that plays my daughter in the show, I've got a 20-year-old daughter who just started Cal Poly, and so it's not hard for me to be protective her on the set and in the show.
Yeah, you got your hands full with that. The new show is Landman, available exclusively on Paramount Plus with new episodes on Sundays. I've heard you, Billy, very open about your anxiety, and I'm curious, how does a guy who has so much anxiety and anxious, how do you do a love scene with Halle Berry? It had to be anxiety through the roof, naked with Halle Berry. How did you get through that?
Well, to tell you the truth, it actually kind of eased my anxiety.
I can see that.
Yeah, there's something about, when you do stuff like this, when you're in a scene, I grew up playing music and still do, and we have a band, the Boxmasters, and when going on stage in front of people or doing a scene in a movie, those are actually the times when the anxiety and the obsessive-compulsive disorder and those kind of things that's what calms them. As long as you have something to focus on, you're pretty good. It's when you have alone time, or when you don't have anything going on to focus on, that's when it gets worse.
Yeah, well, I could see where the beautiful Halle Berry would definitely get me excited, but I can see where she could calm you down as well. Billy, when you packed up and traveled to L.A., the year was 1981. It was summertime. You wanted to be a rock and roll star. What was a young Billy Bob listening to at that time? What were you jamming to on your way to L.A.? Do you remember?
Well, I came out here with a buddy of mine, Tom Epperson, who grew up in my neighborhood, who had been a freshman English teacher, and he wrote poetry and stuff like that. And he had the idea that since we were going to California, it might be a good idea to listen to the Beach Boys, and which we did. And it was kind of ironic because I remember leaving Arkansas and going through Oklahoma, and it was just pouring rain, and we were listening to the Beach Boys. It's like, okay, we're going to see that sun and that sand pretty soon. It's all going to be okay.
What's the greatest jam session you've ever been involved in as a musician? Because I'm sure you got some great stories. What's the best one that you can remember?
Oh, gosh. I remember doing a thing up in Woodstock, New York, with Levon Helm. And me and the Boxmasters did his thing called the Midnight Ramble he had in his barn. And when we were there, he had Chris Robinson there. And then, his band was there. But I grew up loving the band and Robbie Robertson and Levon, and, they meant a lot to me. And I grew up as a drummer originally, and I remember Levon had he had a little cocktail kit next to his. He said, "Hey, man, sit down and play on these next couple of songs with me." So here I was playing next to one of my drumming heroes, side by side with him, and that was quite a standout moment for me. And also singing on Warren Zevon's last record, who was a dear friend of mine.
What about, is it Ginger Baker? Is it John Bonham? Neil Peart? Who was your guy?
Well, my guys, originally as a kid were Ringo and Charlie Watts and Levon and Frank Beard from ZZ Top. But if I had to talk about those most famous drummers in rock that people talk about, I was more of a Ginger Baker guy, yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton, our guest. The new show is called Landman. What do you think the number one thing that Tommy Norris in this show, Landman, what's the number one thing this guy wants in life, you think?
I think he wants to keep his head above water and succeed. I think he's beholding, he's like, any business you get in, you want it to be a success. And I think after a while you develop an obsession, with it. And I think he's a driven, obsessed guy who just, wants to get through life, and make himself and the people around him a success. And, I think he's one of those guys I think he has to work, because if he stopped, he'd probably keel over.
The new episodes come out on Sundays. It's called Landman. Check it out. Billy Bob Thornton, our guest and the big star in this awesome series you should check out, man. Billy, appreciate your time, and hopefully me, you, and Dwight Yoakam could jam out someday. I'd love that.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And happy holidays to you, by the way.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Bad Santa.
Thanks, buddy.